Hey there. Welcome to another episode of Jaygeons and Dragclarks. I'm Jackie Chan. Let's do some stunts. Actually, this is a first in Jaygeons and Dragclarks history. One, I forgot how to English, and two, we are filming from Glendale Heights, Illinois. Yeah, there's Lucien in the dual screen.
I can see myself.
It's
twice.
not a first. It happens every week.
No, that two of us are in the same location.
He didn't specify.
It's the first time that Jay and myself have been from the same location.
There you go.
Yes.
This is the second time in Jaygeons history that Jay has simulcasted with a player. Third?
Third. Yep, the other two have been with Leo.
Yeah.
Oh, you always got twice? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I
Oh,
believe
that's
that.
cute.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike, I'm not going to Texas for you.
Oh well,
Yeah.
I don't blame you. It's 100 some odd degrees here.
You could have just said you don't blame me. It's Texas.
Nope. It's 100 some odd degrees here.
Yeah. But on last week's episode, the party sat there, tried to defend the people's trust across from the knot, found some individuals who seemingly, at coincidence, also happened to be robbing them at the same time. At the end of this, they got some information from the last surviving member of the heist. That person was dispatched, and then they went to the forge off that information in order to see if they could infiltrate the gays through that means. They met into an NPC named Tommy. Tommy shown that he was displeased with how the gaze was being run and was very willing to be an asset for the group. At this time, you are walking away from the forge, and we don't have a destination set yet. But as you safely get out of earshot from those who work in the forge, I believe there's discussion that was to be had.
Yes, Hagrid pulls up alongside Lucien. If he was in front of me, I grab him by the shoulder and wheel him around. If he was behind me, I go around and face him. And I say to him that I am compelled by conscience to speak my mind at this time. In our recent time together, in the name of vanquishing the evil we faced, certain actions were necessary, even though they strained the limits of my beliefs. And now, as we embark on another journey together, I am already struggling with recent events. I understand that Tommy needed my beating him to escape that which was tormenting him. I can accept that as necessary if it helps him and he forgives me. But Lucien, my friend, actions were appalling. As a man of God and one held to a modicum of integrity, I cannot let things of this nature continue. By this I mean the ruthless murder, unnecessary in my mind, of the bandits that we got information out of. I understand that this situation is extremely stressful for you, but this dude cannot abide. Movie reference number 1.
Which is also a biblical reference. Haha.
The dude?
I hope you can understand what.
No, the abiding
It's
part
the
is a biblical
Lord.
reference. It's the earth will abide. It's basically saying that, man comes and goes and does what he pleases, and the earth will always be there, but does not always, fall in line with what man is choosing to do.
We're getting way too deep in the references. And this is
Hey, it was a today I learned that I learned today. Deal with it.
I'm sorry, we're not an educational podcast.
We are now, bitches.
Hagrid, as you're saying.
I hope that, Lucien, you understand what I mean by this. And I am in no way abandoning my loyalty oath I have given you. There are some things that just cannot continue that way.
Does Does anybody else feel the same way?
I'm at the point where what is necessary, and some things may be necessary that aren't essentially good. But I understand where Hagrid is coming from, and his belief set is a defining characteristic of him, so we should respect him as a party member, a friend, and an ally, and take into consideration what he has said, and do our best to uphold what he wants to the best of our ability, situation dependent.
And I think I've already alluded to not being okay with that particular event. I'll do what's necessary, and I'll look the other way on certain things that are for the greater good. I just didn't think that benefited us or anyone.
At this point, you see your half-orc bard searching through his belongings, looks up and goes, I could have sworn I bought another bottle of Crispin Rain. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, that guy surrendered to us, had no weapons, kind of a dick move.
Gentlemen, with my suspicions of who we're up against, we may have to do things like that in the not too distant future to solve this issue we're going to be having and who we're going to be dealing with.
We have done morally gray things, and I think we're going to always be doing that. But unprovoked, in cold blood, I don't know that we need to go down that road.
Well, what if it's somebody who has themselves done absolutely nothing wrong, but will continue to fund and facilitate those who do wrong?
Then there's a reason to do that then.
But they themselves have done nothing.
I think you're reading too much into the ethics of it, Tony. The long story short here is that bandit, or whatever you want to call him, had surrendered to us. He
gave us information.
Yeah, he had given us what we wanted. Look, when we came here to Trayterra, I was going to do whatever it took to avoid having to deal with the gays or the corporation or whatever it is they're calling themselves now. Because I'm a deserter, essentially. I fled Trayterra and never came back. And not only have I returned, but I have returned representing a rival organization's interests. And those two things together, I mean, if things go horribly wrong, it's my head. Maybe even worse. So I was going to do whatever it took to avoid having to deal with them. And so I killed that man because he was too much of a loose end. He was in with the organization, and if we let him go, then they would know that someone was here to oppose them, and yet here we are anyway, looking for a way in. And while I thought I was right at the time, that's one I'll never get back. And that's exactly what Tommy was cautioning us against. Allowing the guild to push you into an area where you felt like you had no choice, and the choice that you had to make was the kind that leaves a mark on your soul. And so Hagrid, yes, I agree. That was we've spent a lot of time, and Laven said the same thing, in morally gray areas, and all for the greater good, and the means justified the end. And at the time I thought that it was the right end. But I was very wrong. And
Lucien, I will have your back. You know that. If it comes down to them or us, then obviously we have a clear line of action to take at that time. Just consider what I stand for, and give me the chance to at least look away, for Christ's sake.
As you guys know, I've been on the run for a long time, and you don't stay that way successfully by thinking too hard on what needs to be done. And my instinct has always been right so far, but now that we're back, and the stresses, the fears, just everything that goes into it, I don't feel like I can trust my instincts anymore. And I know that you guys have always looked to me to be sort of a leader, but I don't know that I can continue to fill that role while we're here.
Oh, I certainly did not mean to have you question your own abilities, your own state of mind. I simply asked that you consider slightly, give it a try. Just consider a different course, and if that ends up being the only course, then so be it. We understand the situation here. You explained it to us, and we are behind you. But you have to consider the possibility that other people may not feel the same way about your instinct in that case.
You're right.
Well, we do have a direct line to a god in a sense through Hagrid, so if we start getting muddled, we can always just take a moment before we murder everybody and go to our, red phone of deityness and
nice catch.
Ask a question.
Nice catch.
All right, so as you guys continue through, and you're walking back through the forested area, making sure to stay unseen, you make yourself back to the Zentarum outpost safely, with no interloping individuals or groups. Now comes up to what we were talking about last week. What do we want to do?
As far as getting a way to get the attention of the corporation.
This is true.
Well, I had an idea on that, and I had thought that potentially opening a line of communication between what's his name? Is Murray the is he just the barkeep at that place in Settlers Bend, or is he sort of like the Zent leader in that particular outpost?
Little column A, little column B.
But creating like a line of communication between Murray and Teavis, and potentially either smashing up the existing Zentarum outpost or obtaining funding to basically buy another building in Teavis's name as a known Zentarum representative, and sort of smashing that building up. Make it look like, obviously most outposts and things like that are fronts, so there's going to be like we could set it up like a bar and smash all the bottles, dump out all the food so it's infested with rats, smash all the furniture. Tony, I know you love killing stools. And we could leave, because we've got all these coins from Barovia with us, and they have Strahd's head on it, and we could always just leave one of those coins as sort of as a calling card.
I see a problem with that. if we just buy a building and, within, let's say, 24 hours, smash it up, it has no way of being established and confirmed as a Zentarum hideout, hangout, storehouse, whatever the hell we feel like turning it into, and it'll just look like a random act of vandalism.
Well, if there's one thing that I know about the gays, it's that nothing happens in Trade Terra or its surrounding provinces without them knowing about it.
How much would this set us back?
I don't know. I guess it depends on the size of the building. Also depends, too, if we can get money from the Zentarum just to do it.
It depends fully on where. If you try to go on the outlying settlements around the city, it's going to be cheaper. Low Terra would be very low cost. If you try to go higher up on the city, the prices will match.
Actually, I have a thought here with what you just said. So you said nothing happens in Trade Terra without the gays knowing about it, right?
Yeah.
And the gays and the Zentarum are kind of in a Cold War where they don't encroach on each other's territory. So wouldn't just the thought and paperwork of them going after a building and then somebody ransacking, destroying, making it inhospitable be more than enough without us having to spend any coin?
I mean, how are you going to get... How are you going to have a paper trail then leading the Zentarum to that building and then having us as a third party actively preventing the Zentarum from spreading their influence?
Does anybody have a forgery kit?
Well, yeah.
And know how to make forgeries?
Sure, but wouldn't it be easier and less of a...
I'm going to have you roll an intelligence check. Lucien. Tony, intelligence check as well.
Straight intelligence?
Intelligence.
20.
Let's go with 6.
Tony, there's no further thought of this. If you can forge the documents and place it where it needs to go, that's enough. Lucien, you remember that these are the individuals that taught you how to forge documents. And not only do you need to get it to look believable to the regular individuals, but you have to show that it's not a fake to people whose job it is to make the fakes. So there's... you get the idea that it's going to be a very tenuous act to try to outsmart the people that trained you.
And we're not... I mean, we can take a few days, send a few letters or messages or whatever to be able to talk to Teavis and see if we can get money from them to do it. Because at the end of the day, what we're doing to the gays is going to allow the Zentarum to potentially gain more influence in Trade Terra, which helps them anyway. So if they throw a little money towards a building that gets trashed, which I'm sure won't be the first time they've done that, then there's an actual legitimate paper trail there, not something that I have to fabricate. However, if they will not give us the money, and if a building is out of our price range, for instance, then I could at that point then make a reasonable attempt at trying to forge a paper trail.
Fuck it, I got the gunpowder, let's go blow up a building.
There's the Tony I know.
Hey, remember those morally gray areas? This one's pretty charcoal.
Also, I'm pretty sure if we went to like the Sect of Chains, the Slavers' Row in Trade Terra, we could probably get a building for like 10 copper.
I'm not going there, you guys are going to try and sell me.
Honestly,
Tony,
who would buy
you?
Yeah, who would buy you? I wouldn't even buy you, and I'm your friend.
But that's because you believe in freedom and shit.
I don't...
I would say friends don't buy friends. So.
Friends buy friend drinks. Let's go to the pub.
And Crispin's on board.
Yeah, as soon as you hit the word pub, he immediately perks up. He goes, oh, I wonder if I'll have crisp and rain there. Yep, so you guys make your way back to the meadery. Murray, still there, still cleaning glasses, still cracking wise. There's more individuals here. One, it's later at night, it's more peak hours. The other one is that it appears that there's a bard in town. Another half-orc bard, detusked. Yep, telling stories about it's this barbarian tribe that had been they were nomadically living. Asteroid touched ground, destroyed everything they had, and kind of the fallout from that. Yep, but fair amount of noise and enough going on where prying eyes probably won't look your direction.
Easy enough to have a discreet conversation.
Yeah. Yes.
Before I talk to Murray and kind of pitch this idea, Hagrid, Laven, did you guys have any ideas? Did you have any issues with the plan that was presented? Because really the goal is just to smash up something to get the gaze to essentially reach out to us to get us to get inside and potentially gain more information.
Right, I understand that. And what I gleaned from the conversation, the information that Tommy gave us, was that things could have had to get really dark in our attempts to convince each side that this was, a real event. And this idea of taking out an outpost and taking care of it that way sounds absolutely great. I have no problem with it.
And we definitely don't have to kill anybody.
That was my concern, was that we were actually going to have to sacrifice someone again.
Yeah, I mean, so far I'm, with the group.
Okay. All right, Murray, we have an interesting business proposition in the opening moves to a game of chess with the gaze to talk to you about.
We're not going to talk business out here. Why don't we come back to my office? As he begins to show you behind the bar, it's not really much of an office, but it's between two shelves, of one with liquor and other with liquor carriers. Some kegs, barrels, their pint glasses, their quart glasses for the larger individuals. And he comes in, files you guys all in. Hagrid, it's a snug fit. You're more of a door than a window, which kind of works out for the situation. He goes like, yeah, so, what's going on here?
Alright, so, we have learned that the Gaze is calling themselves the Corporation, and they are acting with a silent partner to bring these guns into Trayterra, and that the Gaze has essentially been given a way to cheaply manufacture many of these guns, poorly, mind you, but obviously it's a big power play for them, and they're the ones actively opposing the Zentarum gaining any influence in Trayterra anyway. So what our idea is we need to get into the Gaze in order to get more information. Now, one way to do that is to seem as though we are a party who is in alignment with their interests, which would oppose us to the Zentarum. So what we could do is, in the name of the Zentarum, I don't know if it needs to be, I don't know enough about the infrastructure of the Zentarum to say if it needs to be in your name, in Teavis's name, or if there's some sort of name that is used to purchase a property for the Zentarum. But we could buy a building, another one here in Settlers Bend, a village closer to the city, or even we could start to infiltrate Low Terra and go somewhere like the Sect of Chains, or anything like that, to purchase a building, and then we would then make it look like someone, us, has come in and destroyed all of the booze, left all the food out so the place is lousy with rats and insects, and smash all the furniture up. And we've devised sort of a calling card for our group.
Okay, yeah, so I'd appreciate it if it wasn't this building. Yeah, but we can bankroll you a little bit. I'm sure that their counter intel is at least as good as our intel. So if we put down my name, Davis's, somebody's, I'll get them eventually. They'll figure it out. The question I have here for you guys, for your protection, have you ever actually signed anything that made you officially Zentarum? Is there any connection between you and us?
That's a good question.
I don't think there's any official documentation. I know that Tony, Laven, and myself are Fang rank within the Zentarum, but I don't think there was any papers that we signed or anything like that.
Then that's
I don't think they keep a list.
Is it just me, or does it seem exceptionally stupid for a shadow organization to leave a massive paper trail of their members?
How are we going to exert control if we don't know where we have control?
Duh. Handshakes and pass signs and, usual shadowy thieves things. Not, hey, let's leave a paper trail so if the officials ever show up, we're all fucked.
First off, we're not a group of thieves. It's more of a fringe society. But here's the thing you need to know. We're going to do this. We're going to have to destroy that paperwork for you. There's going to be nothing that connects you and me.
Other than prior association, basically.
We'll destroy that too.
No, I mean like the fact that we know each other, we know we're working together, kind of thing.
Yeah, so basically, as long as you got a corroborator, we can undo what we've done. But in the meantime, you're out in the wind. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So before you go down that road, I just need to ask you, are you sure? It's smart, but it's a little reckless.
I mean, that sounds like us.
What? What if only some of us, sort of broke that association with the Zentarum? What if those of us who would be okay with infiltrating and being a part of the gaze were to strike our association with the Zentarum? And like Haggard, for instance, you could work with the Zentarum and with the Lords Alliance, with the information that those of us who are in the gaze then can give you, and then we would be able to sort of attack the issue from two fronts, and one would have much more lawfulness to it.
But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Because the big issue I have here is we're trying to cast a really wide net, when all we need to do is get our foot in the door. After that, then we can focus on the next step of the plan. But the fact of the matter is, if we destroy the paperwork, then I'll be the only one that knows who you really are. Okay? At that point, some of the favors that the Zhentarim owes you, to put on ice for a bit. At least until the job's done. So I'm going to say this one more time. You want to go down this road? Because you can turn around and you can back out. You haven't committed to nothing yet.
What do you guys think?
I'm confused. I think this is Murray's way of telling us we're severing ties with the group that we're doing this very thing for.
For the time being, he's
Until
saying
the
that
mission's
we can finish this, and as long as Murray lives, essentially, he could essentially then backpedal the paperwork, basically, and then we would still have the association with the Zhentarim. But
I mean, if we need to keep,
sorry, let me go ahead.
do we know this guy well enough to know he's going to stay alive?
Roll an insight check.
13.
Based off of the way he acts, his cautiousness, he's one that you would believe would go to ground at the first sign of trouble and try to drop off the map. You're not too worried about him staying alive in situations he can control. But what you're asking to do may ultimately take away levels of control. So it's one of those where you may have to continue to help him out. It may cloud your ability to make decisions. But he's not helpless. He's not like any NPC in Resident Evil 4.
Is there any other way to do what we need to do here?
And have them trust you? No, I doubt it. I mean, these guys, they're at a certain point more animal than man now. I don't think they're going to listen to words. They're going to focus on deeds.
Well, I think the plan is pretty sound. Not exactly sure what the future is going to hold, but I think I have to defer to Lucien actually on this one, because I think that he's got a better grasp of it than I do, and I'm willing to accept his decision right now.
Because, I mean, other than essentially some place to fall back to, the main thing that we're potentially losing is 1,000 platinum pieces each for finishing the job. Because if there's no record of us taking the job, then they don't have to pay us.
No. Hey. We pay our debts. Okay, we'll keep that.
What about this? So, what about the stuff that we commissioned from the magic artifacts guy in Acre?
Here's the fun
Taika.
part. We don't truly
Taika,
use names.
yeah.
So Taika, it's not his real name.
So, I mean, Taika would recognize us, and we'd still be able to get our stuff then, basically.
Taika goes based off of accounts. That account's not going to change. There's no name put to it to protect us if one of us gets pinched and Taika's on the block, or if Taika gets pinched. They can give away numbers, and numbers don't mean shit.
So in the short term, then, what are the cons to losing the association with Zentarum?
Basically, in the short term, you guys, with the side from me, put help where I can.
Great, sit down here, take it down. It's now. It doesn't hurt. I put a Band-Aid on you, you're perfectly fine.
So just lose protection.
Now I'm checking you for you, Zane.
You guys are,
No.
schnooks, for lack of a better word. But now, granted, you being schnooks make you a little bit more lucrative for the corporation.
Right, yeah.
They think you're more malleable.
Like they would have something to offer us in exchange for our services, other than money.
Yeah. But ultimately here, I understand this is a shit situation no matter how you cut it.
Well, I think at this point, guys, we kind of specialize in putting ourselves in shit situations, don't we?
But at the end of the day,
Are there any?
we got a new technology that's looking like it's doing a lot more harm than good. We need to know more about it, if it can be controlled, if it needs to be obliterated.
I watched it obliterate 3 dudes' hands while they were fighting us. So, like, does that answer any of your questions, Laven? What, like, sort of what the drawbacks are to having this happen? It just leaves us more exposed.
Yeah.
But
Which, I mean, that's
exposure is
okay.
kind of what we
I was-
want, because we need the... It puts us in a
think I
little
was
bit
more
more danger,
concerned
but I think
about-
that gives the gays room to exert their, their idea of influence over us.
Yeah. I think I was more concerned about what's going to happen after.
Yeah, that was my main concern too. Like, do we still get our pay? Do we still have a place to live in Acre? Do we still get our stuff that we ordered?
If it makes you feel better. Tavis lives through this. He's seen your face. He knows who you are. He's the one who sent you on this mission.
Yeah.
So that, I guess in reality, there's 2 people that can walk us back.
Unless we lose our faces.
Oh no.
Don't do that.
I can't lose my face, guys. I literally cannot lose my face.
And later, what are you doing? Give the DM an idea.
I'll burn off my fingerprints all day, but I can't lose my face, guys.
It's his moneymaker.
It wouldn't be the first time.
That's what's gotten me this far.
Alright. At this point, Murray grabs a couple of rolled up pieces of paper and opens up throughout his hands and shows like, alright, so here's what are we kind of looking for here? Is it an abandoned building, something cheap to pick up, something that looks like it'd be immediately serviceable? What kind of building do we need?
Probably something that would be immediately serviceable, because if it's just like some abandoned waste shack, like what like does that really does that really raise anybody's eyebrows at all?
Alright, so we want something that can hide in plain sight, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit more expensive.
Right.
We're talking, if we lease one, it's maybe a few blocks off from the square in Loterra, a couple blocks away from the knot, 300 gold, just to purchase the building. You might need to spend a little bit more money to dress up the building, plant some of our completed jobs there, something we can make a duplicate of, just to tie us to the building.
How long do you think it would take?
2-3 days.
And Zentarum is footing the cost for the building and furnishing?
I mean, we can go with that, what we can prevent, what we can gain. Yeah, that's an investment. We'll do that. But, on this one, this is me speaking personally, not as a member of Zentarum. I'm glad we're doing it this way. 1, it's not my building. 2, it makes us feel better that we're doing this for more protecting the people and not putting them in the hardest way to get us deeper. I know I got some of my friends that don't share that sentiment, but come on, let's be heroes when we get the chance.
Sinners with a soul.
I prefer more Robin Hood. Alright, so over the course of the next 2-3 days, a building's bought in Low Terra. Do you guys want to describe the front that this building is?
I think that probably the easiest to do to make like the largest impact would be something like a tavern or a restaurant or a tavern/inn kind of thing, because you can, if we dump all the food and grains and stuff over and they get bugs and rats and stuff, then that actually impacts the usability of that inn. So that shows that whoever came in meant to remove the Zentarum, for real. And it also can affect the surrounding buildings so that it will raise more awareness to what happened. Because, if you get a rat problem in one building, you're going to have a rat problem in the surrounding buildings.
Other thoughts?
What are we going to leave as our calling card, so to speak, or sign that this was us acting in sense?
It's a piece of paper written with your non-dominant hand that says, "We did this," and the S's are backwards.
We're writing fives.
I was thinking, like I said, I was thinking we could leave one of the Barovian coins, like a silver or a copper, nothing too crazy. But we could also, I could also draw up something that's in none of our handwriting that says "We are NASA," and just leave that with a dagger stabbed into the wall or something.
Or Strahd's head.
At this point, Tony probably pulls out Strahd's head. While Tony does that, Crispin just goes, "Bleh."
Bleh. Bleh.
I'm playing with the mouth, so it looks like he's doing the sound.
Bleh. The first use will be in our game.
Blah, blah, blah.
Yep. Alright. So, as you guys do that, you purchase the tavern building, spend a couple of days just watching it, seeing what happens, trying to find the low volume periods in that part of the neighborhood. You start doing the smash and grab. For those of you who want to take part of this, describe the smashing portion that you're doing. We'll have a roll to see how effective you are at it.
Doing a skills challenge kind of thing?
Skills challenge.
Destroy the car.
No, this isn't the second bonus level in Street Fighter 2. Okay, so you got typical tavern building, typical tavern things, bought because of how insuspicious it is. Is that a word?
Inconspicuous, I think.
Yeah, okay, that's a word. That works. Insuspicious. A word invented by Jaygeons and Dragclarks. Tony, we'll start with you. What's something you're going to do to smash up this bar?
Could I take out my freaking drum of black powder and start lashing it to one of the support columns?
Sure. Go ahead and, for that one, we'll go with the dexterity check with proficiency to see how well you're able to affix it, and an intelligence check with proficiency again to see if you're able to make this a more flashy style explosion as opposed of a concussive style explosion?
Dexterity was a 10.
Okay.
And the intelligence check was a, let me think here, 23.
That actually makes so much sense for Tony. I mean, this is kind of like a Hollywood-style explosion. It 100% is going to look like it's dangerous, but the concussive force probably won't be that bad. You might blow out some windows. That's about it.
Okay.
But as far as where it's at, you literally took a rope, you tied it to the central beam, and that was it.
All right, guys. Smash is done.
Tony, what the fuck is that?
It's a bomb.
We're
What
not
does it
trying to
look
blow
like?
the building up. We're trying to smash the insides.
Mm-hmm. That's what'll happen.
Yeah, this blows this building up.
Full insight.
Ooh. 10.
Yeah, that's what happens when bombs happen. Things get smashed. They just get smashed very rapidly.
Tony, I hope you know what you're doing.
We'll see.
For my part, I'll just work on forging the We Are NASA and finding a good place to put it up with the coin.
It's not really forging. You are NASA.
Right, no, but I mean, by forging, I mean, yeah, but by drafting and forging, I mean, like, writing it so that it's not in anyone's hand in the party.
Okay.
Because, like, I'm proficient with the forgery kit, I should be able to write in other people's handwriting.
Yeah, okay. So in... whose handwriting do I want to choose here? It's like Michael J. Fox. This autograph.
So bad.
But from like 1982.
When he was a kid.
Yeah. At the height of Michael J. Foxularity. Yeah, you get something that just says, "We are NASA," and then you burn the sides a little bit, and then stab it into the wall. Laven, what are you offering?
I want to go to like the back room,
Okay.
if there is one, and I want to attach some rope to like my bear trap, and like just whip that around.
Bear trap tetherball. Roll for inventing a sport.
3.
Nobody wants to play this game. Now roll. This one's going to be... Start off with sleight of hand with your dexterity modifier in order to see how you're able to knot a rope around the bear trap without changing how it works.
Okay.
And then sleight of hand,
That's 20.
replace dexterity with intelligence modifier to see if you can not snap your fingers.
Okay, it was a 24 for the first thing.
Okay, yeah. That will work just fine.
What was the second one?
Bear trap on a tether. Replace your dexterity modifier on sleight of hand with intelligence. And this is basically, can you engineer something where it will do what you want it to do?
13?
I don't know how to judge this. A 13 on this. So what's the goal of the bear trap, trying to just snap things around?
I think it was just to have something heavy on the end of a rope to swing around.
Yeah.
It was, yeah.
So it's more just
Yes.
Like a wrecking ball.
yeah.
It's like a wrecking ball, but it's got teeth.
Okay.
Wrecking teeth ball. It's a chain chomp.
Yeah. So then you throw your hat on it, and then you become the chain chomp.
Yes.
Yeah. For those of you who own Nintendo Switches, you're welcome. Yeah, so your makeshift wrecking ball is set up. With it being as simple as as that, it's probably won't last the test of time. It may fall down before they find it. But you can wreck some shit. Alright. Hagrid, what would you like to do for the smash and grab?
Well, while I am keeping one eye on Leovan and his makeshift wrecking ball, I think I want to just go around with my hammer and detach things from their intactness. If we're making up work, we might as well go for
All
it.
right, roll for Tony.
This tavern has no more sconces.
Yeah, roll for Tony and stools. I don't know how to do that. Just let's go D20. Make an attack roll. Let's just do that, since you're basically spinning around with your hammer.
Oh, and before Tony enacts his Hollywood special effects there too, I want to
Walk away without looking at the explosion.
no, I want to go check out Lucian's creativity on our well, let's just call it our wet bandit calling card. So I think I'm just spinning in circles, doing not much because I just rolled a 10.
No. You're trying to hit a stationary building. It should be easy to hit. With this, you're knocking away some of the smaller items with these. As you're trying to hit load-bearing segments, columns, door frames, you're chipping away at it. It looks more visually destructive than structurally destructive.
That's
Surprisingly, all the stools are still intact. I thought that'd be the first thing to go. Yep.
Oh no, there's a plan for that.
Alright, what's the plan?
So, after seeing Leovin's ingenuity with his bear trap and his chain chomp, I take out my rope, tie it around my waist, hand the other end to Hagrid, pull out my hand axes, and scream, "Swing me!" at the stools.
Alright, guys, roll for teamwork.
Hammer
I'm
toss.
going to
Hammer
run
toss.
away.
Just spin him a couple times, Hagrid, and let go. Hammer toss him.
You know what, Hagrid? I'm going to give you proficiency on this because this is a modified get help. Roll
well, I had a straight up 15. Do I get to add anything to that?
Yes, add your proficiency modifier and your strength modifier.
So is it like a 29?
Wow.
That becomes 23, actually.
All right. Yeah. Now, Tony, roll an acrobatics check to not pass out because this is hitting some cheese here.
That was a 17.
Surprisingly, you get a little head rush, but you're able to maintain it. It's almost like you belong in NASA. And now I'm going to have you roll to attack on stools.
All right. Ooh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to hit him more with myself than anything else, I think.
What'd you roll? Natural one? Natural one?
I rolled I rolled a 5, but my strength modifier for, oh no, my attack modifier for hand axes is 3, so a total of 8.
All right. You hit them flat with the blade, and they're being flung around. It's not so much anything you're doing, but the momentum Hagrid's creating from you that is causing these stools to just splinter. And they're sawdust now. They're sawdust. This is the first medieval chipping machine. Patent pending.
Patent pending.
All right.
All right.
Everybody's good with what's going on? As this comes
Sure,
through...
I've got a gnome on a stick. I'm great.
It's more of a rope, but yes.
Yeah, he's like a leash kid now.
It's probably safer for everybody that
I
way.
agree.
Never let go.
How much damage could this gnome cause? It's a 6-foot rope, so 6 feet.
till you let go, then all hell breaks loose.
Oh God, Tony, your character's just become Corey's dog the first month he's had him.
Pretty much.
Or like when Bear tried to bite my butt today.
True, that was funny.
Now, granted, I was boxing him out. I was taking him on.
He had it coming.
Yep. You need to go to my smartphone the entire time.
He what?
Yeah, Bear was always going for the pocket that had my smartphone in it.
He's good at that. I don't know why.
Yeah. Take away my communications. Take away my army.
He can't call for help if he doesn't have a phone.
Yeah. Simply because you guys had announced it earlier, you placed a couple of Barovian copper pieces throughout the place. One that you literally just tie to the dagger that you use to put up the wet bandits.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of a kitchen knife than a dagger because the building already had them.
Perfect.
Yep. And then over the course of the next 3 days, the rats come in. I need to roll for temperature. Let's see how hot it was these 3 days. 93 degrees. Okay. Yeah, they're hot days with dried out materials. There's small embers that come up here. Tony, when do you want to blow up the place?
Late on the third night after we figure the rats have done their damage.
All right. I'm going to have you roll engineering checks. This would be an attack roll with your intelligence modifier and proficiency.
All right.
Thanks, Xanathar.
24.
How do you want to blow this up?
Again, more concussive, not so much ball of fire, just kind
That's
of like
the
a...
opposite way. It was designed to look bad without being bad.
Well, okay, so I want big fireball,
Yes.
but the concussive damage, and basically I want to try and make it go outward through the windows instead of up, so I don't destroy the building, just blow everything to shit on the inside.
Yeah, it's like when Mythbusters decided to blow up that one kid's parents' car, make it look like it did a lot, but everything's structurally intact.
Yeah.
That so happens, and there's a 12-year-old who is really, really happy about that explosion. You just awoken a career in science for this kid.
And then proceed to run down the street going...
Roll for Zoidberg.
Roll for Zoid. 3.
You do it 3 times. It was kind of funny the first time. By the end of the 3rd time, everybody else in the party
I'm
just
back
walked
on
away.
my leash. I'm back on my leash being dragged down the street.
I mean, you were the entire time. It's just, at one point, Laven just tugged it, and you're trying to do the whoop, 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 whoop while being dragged along the ground.
Works for me.
Alright. You still have another couple of days of downtime. Anything that you guys want to do to prepare for the unknown?
On one of the nights, I want to ask Tony. So you seem to have some kind of idea about who or what we're gonna find.
Regrettably, I do.
Do you want to expand on that a little bit? Like what is going on here? Who is
All
this
right.
silent partner of theirs?
Throw it in here.
Why?
How is it gonna go?
Washing machine? It needs to be washed?
The silent part is a washing machine. Yep, that's it.
Yeah. All right.
Editing note for myself. When I go back to podcast that, take out the last 25 seconds.
Just leave the washing machine.
Oh, we're up to 30 now. All right. Well, are you sure you want to get tied up into to this shit?
I feel like if there's information that I can have going into it, it's going to help me help us more.
Okay, so you guys know how I've been cracking the joke about, roughly 150 years ago. I was the one who blew up the gnome facility that's out there, right?
Yeah, and you destroyed like 83.7% of it or something like that.
Well, the truth is that I really am the one who blew it up. And it's 18.7%. I figured out the exact number. So, I killed 34 people and left 103 wounded. So, long story short, this all came to a head because years ago, not too undifferent from now, I was basically a plague on the village I was in, and my parents didn't know what to do with me. They were alchemists. I was more of an engineer. So everybody got together and decided it would be best to send me off to one of the gnomish facilities where my gift could better be utilized. Well, while there, I basically made a name for myself extremely quick, but I was also still a troublemaker. That habit seems to carry throughout wherever I go. After a couple of years, I came across another individual. His name was Orcas Ranji. He was a he was a friend of mine of sorts, or so I thought. He ended up becoming a rival, and while I continued to gain fame and renown, he always seemed one step behind, kind of under the heel of everybody. I guess it caused some sort of resentment. Well, after
solidarity to your Wolfgang.
Yeah. But
reference?
So so that being said, after a while I kind of grew a little leery of continuing to make machines, and it was a little too easy for me. So I decided to get back to my roots and what my family does and try and make the world a better place. I chose to start working on a machine that could automate the process of making potions, thus reducing the cost and increasing the availability. Now, with playing with chemicals like that and various roots and herbs and all of the things involved with making potions and combining it with automation, best I can figure is it created a self-sustaining, highly volatile mixture that ended up exploding.
Very unstable.
So the day I chose to unveil my machine, I had gathered together all of the greatest thinkers I could, muster up, all the inventors, all the apothecaries, all the herbalists, all of the healers, to show them this invention and change the world. I went through the explanation, went through all of the questions, and then decided it was time to unveil the machine and show them what it could do. It initially started perfectly fine and started to produce potions. And then it became ungodly unstable while everybody was taking a closer look at the machine. And right before it detonated and I killed all of these people, I saw Ranji standing in the back of the auditorium with this huge shit-eating grin on his face. And then it detonated. And then I killed 38 people. Or 34, my apologies. And on that day, I knew I wasn't destined to be good. I knew I wasn't destined to help people. I knew I wasn't destined to be a means of creation anymore. I was the hand of destruction. And best I can figure is, if it's not my fault, it's Ranji's. But with him being in my shadow and in my haste of trying to get out of there and not be put to death for my actions, I may have left some of my plans behind for things like the Thunder Cannon and other inventions. I wasn't able to gather everything. And so now that I've seen the maker marks on these weapons that are out there, and the means that these are being created, my best guess, with almost certainty, is that Ranji is behind it, and he has always been ambitious. He has always been driven to make the Gnomish people a seat of power in the world. And it's not in our nature, but he is so passionate that the gnomes should have their place that he's willing to do almost anything to make it happen. And if that means manipulating people, if that means killing people, if that means coming up with some abomination or some mythical creature or story or weapon to change the world and shape it as he sees fit, he will do it. Not directly, but he will use people to do it.
Hold on. Crispin kind of perks up again. He goes, that was almost too specific for you to not know what he's planning.
Well, this was 150 years ago. So I'm speaking to the man that he was and what I assume he has become. I cannot prove what it is now because I have never been back since that day.
But what's your hypothesis? What's the end game?
End game for him is that he wants to end up making the gnomes a seat of power. And back in the days, he had this crazy fascination with a story. And, I mean, it's a weird story. It's not one that, anybody has, in the gnomish world, has taken any real stock of. It's kind of one of those horror stories to tell kids, and it's a folk tale in the end. But it's called the Infernal Machine. It was basically this machine that if, you were a bad little gnome child, it would come and devour you and all of the evil people in the world. And so if you do anything bad, it'll cleanse the world of evil. So, I mean, he's probably, in my guess, pursuing something of that nature, but it's just a folktale. He's a little unstable, last I knew. Oh.
Okay. So we're fighting people with guns, a criminal organization, and folktales. Good to know.
The Ghost of Christmas Past. Tony, how do you know you killed 34 people?
Because there were 34 people dead, and it was my machine. I killed them. If I had never made the machine, they would have never died.
So, you feel as though you are the hand of destruction, like everything you built is only purposed for destruction. But what if it was this Ranji guy? What if you're right and he did sabotage your machine? Then how can you feel that way about yourself? That it wasn't you that did that. You built, all these other things first, and then he caused something you made to explode.
Well, if I had been more of a friend, more of an ally, more of a companion to him in the sense of being his, ally and things instead of driving the competition, even if he did do it, it was out of my own greedy pursuits for fame, fortune, renown, whatever you want to call it. But I turned him into what he is.
And we're going to hit pause right there for a bathroom break. We'll be back in 5 minutes at 1:15.
1:15.
Woohoo! I need to find an extension cord. I'm back, I think.
Roll call.
Hello. What's up?
What?
Oh, I got a doggy.
I'm alive.
You sound so enthusiastic to be there.
Don't you lick the dice trays.
Maybe he just really likes
Do
the
what you
feeling
want,
of
doggo.
suede on his tongue.
That's why he's been licking my shoes all weekend.
This is the dice tray that I was given by Hagrid for my birthday. It's quite fancy.
Fancy schmancy.
Everyone's here?
I haven't heard from Dan yet.
Oh, the paint's chipping off my 18.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Actually, it just looks like there's some gunk in there.
Oh, no, that's extra plastic that never got chipped off.
Oh. Interesting.
There we go.
Roll for Eldritch Blast. That's pretty good.
You beat me. Oh, I am the Cheers repairman. You guys are getting so much role-playing experience this week.
Mm-hmm.
I do still have a couple things left to say to you, Tony.
Okie dokie.
Well,
Oh,
as
Tony
we're
still
waiting
needs to
for,
admit that.
Hagrid to come back, we can work on that if it's going to be a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, I suppose. I mean,
Did I just pinch my internet? Because it sounded like I was speaking way faster online than I felt I was talking.
I mean, do you still feel, Tony, like everything that you make is for destruction?
Pretty much.
Well, like, look at Aes.
I've just
Look
kind
at-
of
look at
embraced
everything that
my
he
fate.
can do. You know, like Aes, the least of his abilities is to damage things.
But it is what he excels at.
It isn't though. Not at this point. I mean, any of us can
I haven't seen him do much of that.
can out hit. Okay, OBS is back up and running.
Okay, I'm back.
All right. Oh, that was my shoulder. Welcome back to the stream. That was my shoulder. Yeah, so as we left off, Lucien and Tony were continuing their conversation about Tony's destructive tendencies, and Aes's utility was called into, not necessarily question, but called into attention.
Scrutiny.
Yes, as well as the Boots of Cat's Grace.
Yeah. Yep. I think, long story short, I think there's a lot more to you than you think there is, Tony.
I don't know. After 150 years, I'm pretty good at doing what I do at this point. After embracing my fate.
I mean, it's one thing to excel at something, and it's another to pigeonhole yourself. You know, Tony, you are a fantastic inventor. I think of all the things you've made for us, you know, over the... I mean, I guess it's years at this point, because we lost 5 years in that time dilation, but, you know, the Boots of Cat's Grace, Aes, look at all the arrows that are strapped to Leovan right now that do all sorts of crazy shit. You know,
like blow up and kill people.
But like the bad people.
You know, one of the first things you created for us, Tony, do you know what it was?
What's that?
Dual parts.
It was
Dual parts.
It was amulets with the spell Cure Wounds in them that could be activated, so anybody could use it to cast Cure Wounds on themselves when we were going into the Barovian Embassy. So the very first thing you made for us, Tony, was not something of destruction, it was something of healing. So while you are good at blowing things up, and it really all of us are, you're better at creating. Just keep that in mind. I know it's not going to change how you think about yourself right now, but that's not how we see you.
Well, I appreciate it, and hopefully you guys continue to keep me around and are the means of finding the redemption for the misdeeds of my past, and of course hopefully Hagrid doesn't want to kill me for murdering 34 people.
Crispin perks up
Sounds
again
like it.
after he's now writing his business statement for Crispin Rain. And as you guys look at the piece of paper, it just sits there and says, buy wine, write name on wine, sell wine again. Step 4, sing songs about my wine. He kind of goes like, I know we spent a lot of time in the gray here, but you didn't rig that to explode yourself, did you?
No, that was not its purpose.
Yeah, then how is that on you?
Well-
There was someone may have tampered with your machine. Are you going to spend your entire life denying others opportunities to keep us in the same level of danger, or create opportunities trying to help people, and some individuals respond to that poorly.
What was that guy's name again, Tony?
That was here. Let me spell it for you so you have it. It was Orcas Ranji, Orkas, and the last name Ranji, Ronji.
Well, you know what, Tony? I think when we find this guy, and find him we will, if he is in fact responsible like you think he is for these weapons, we can bring him to justice and maybe exonerate you, and his chickens can come home to roost.
Yeah, we can send him some crisp and pain.
Well, he may end up having an egg that is very explosive. So, just fair warning, I may go mindlessly, temporarily insane, and do horrible, horrible things.
Temporarily insane.
Well, it's a good thing you've got that rope tied around your waist.
Temporarily.
That is true.
Alright. And at that point, Tony pushes down on the plunger, and Hollywood happens. Tony, roll for explosions. Not like...
Roll for explosion.
It's not so much, does this explode or what kind of damage it does. Just kind of how Hollywood this is. Like, if you need to walk away without looking at it.
Okay.
Like a real badass.
Like a real badass. Rolled a straight 10.
Rolled a straight 10. It looks moderately badass, but then you remember that real badasses treat women with respect.
And I made the mistake of looking at the explosion too, so.
Yeah, so you've got a bright spot temporarily burned into your vision.
Works for me.
Yeah, next time you're gonna remember to bring your welding goggles before you weld everything.
I also, during the time that we were waiting for this to get set up, and that we are now waiting for the gays to contact us, I guess.
Take notice.
I am working on sort of a disguise for myself, because I don't want to go in as Lucien. Yes, it's a mustache. No. So what I want to do is I want to call sort of attention away from my face. Obviously, I was a face man in the gaze, so I want to call attention away from my face. So I am going to have like a scar, like a burn scar, like here on my neck and one of my hands. I'm gonna like do the makeup to make it look so that is like my defining feature. I'm also gonna have like a pork pie hat on, like kind of like tilted low, so you don't really like see my eyes.
I'm gonna have you roll disguise check. This will be your wisdom modifier.
Okay.
With proficiency, with advantage, because you know how to make disguises.
Yeah. All right. So you said with proficiency?
Yep.
In my wisdom? Mm-hmm. All right, that's a 24.
So it's very convincing. This isn't like one of the Uncle Drew basketball videos where after a while you can see the sweat and you know it's like, okay, this is clearly a guy wearing makeup. However, you know that as soon as somebody makes contact with you in those areas, it won't feel like skin. So as long as nobody's touching you, it's spitting image. But that's where the illusion ends.
Okay.
Yep. And as this goes through, rolling for excitement. Oh damn, people are excited. 88's excited. There's a significant response from the Dagger Guard as this building comes up. Also working as the fire containment squad. They're not firefighters. They're just trying to let it run its course. So you have, at the end of the day, a hollowed out building, structurally never to be used again. And in what can only be true Hollywood fashion, the only thing that remains untouched is the portion of the wall that had the "We Are NASA" note jammed into it. Because plot armor.
Ooh, can I get some plot armor?
No.
Oh.
You five are known as the Expendables. That's not true. It is. It's not. It's a constant war with myself. And this is why people don't trust DMs.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as this comes throughout your daily travels, trying to just keep yourselves fed and all that, I'm going to take you over to this map.
Oh. Castle Ravenloft.
Nope. Well, it's not supposed to be. You're likely going to go there. And Strahd's head comes out and goes, bleh.
Bleh.
Alright, so as you come through, you notice that there is an unnatural chokehold in the road. There's a cart that I forgot to draw because I'm dumb. That is going to be the size of this X that's overturned. And you guys have been around for long enough to know this is not some accident.
Where is this at? This is
one of the roads that you're traveling in Loterra.
Okay.
With an overturned wagon. You don't see any immediate threats, but you are acutely aware of trying to create a choke point. Especially you, Lucien, being one that creates choke points when it serves your advantage.
Yeah. Everybody, just be on your guard.
For what?
Anything. This isn't. This wasn't an actual accident.
I would like to perceive anything.
Roll perception.
Roll omniscience. Omniscience.
Clairvoyance.
That is a total of 15.
As you're looking around, you see a number of individuals who are staring directly at you. They're unarmed, various races, but they are... It's kind of like watching a really bad surveillance mission. They're standing at the equivalent of a newspaper stand or at a fruit stand, and they're looking directly at you, but they're grabbing like pieces of fruit and just putting it back. And you see about 7 or 8 individuals doing this throughout a quick glance.
Hey, guys. There's dumbasses by fruit stands and newsstands that are staring at us.
You said they were unarmed and unarmored?
Yeah. They're monitoring you, but there's no weapons visible, let alone brandish.
Are there any buildings nearby that I would... Leovan, do you see any buildings nearby that would like lend for good places for you to shoot people with a bow? Like, where would you go to take a look over this road?
Let me look around.
Drawing buildings, because we need buildings to exist.
Because I'm worried that this is some sort of ambush.
Well, we could always have Hagrid throw me at people again. That seems to work pretty well.
Jaygeons and Dragclarks now in squiggle vision. Brought to you by a guy who once watched the show Home Movies.
Alright, I'll be right back. I just heard something's broken.
I think we should rename the show from Jaygeons and Dragclarks to Tony Throwbar.
I 100% support that decision.
Do any of or all of these buildings have second levels or
Places with which to be a roost.
like roofs?
They're all single, kind of hut yurt kind of buildings.
Hut yurt. Sounds like
Are they like flat topped, or any of them?
They're slightly rounded. You can maintain your balance.
Okay.
It's like this one actually right here is known as a pizza yurt. This one here has Dan Harmon trying to offer people lemonade. For those of you who've seen season 4 of Arrested Development, I'm sorry.
I haven't seen any of that show.
What's up?
that was Dan Harmon.
Yeah.
Yeah, really, kind of what I was getting at, I guess, is like not sending you up there, Laven, but just like I know that you know better than I do where the most opportune places to be were you someone to try to shoot at NASA right now.
Yep. Well, that's what I was kind of trying to figure out. Like, which of these buildings would I want to be up on if I were trying to shoot at people by this cart?
Probably for you to get the cleanest shot, you'd want to be likely up here in this building. Just because that way you can get the cleanest look of the chokehold right here. And that's not a rule for it. You've fired so many arrows, you just inherently know that.
Okay. So yeah, Lucien, I would say the one down at the end on the right would probably be where I would perch.
Can I see any evidence of someone being there perched at all? Like any evidence of someone like but trying to hide there to be watching us? Anything like that?
When I measure things. Yeah, you can roll with disadvantage.
What, perception?
Yep.
Okay. Alright.
Watch that be a 21.
It's a 19.
Okay. You don't see a human per se, but it's like seeing somebody use a telescope with the reflection of that lens going right back at you.
So I can see the like the lens flare.
Yeah, you can see the J.J. Abrams.
Oh, what's it? There's like a. Is that what it's called when you can see like the scope of someone's like rifle downrange? I think.
J.J. Abrams? Probably not.
No, I think it's called lens
Well,
flare.
it's probably lens flare.
I'm going to call it J.J. Abrams.
Okay, so I can see some J.J. Abrams on that roof.
Yeah. Yes.
All right, I gotta go deal parenting shit.
Let Tony have kids.
Right. Yeah.
Tony's wife.
Tony's married?
Yeah, that's actually this giant subplot. They're constantly in message with each other.
Is that who Orcus is?
No, that's better.
I like how his rival's name is almost the same as a like evil god.
Yeah.
Orcus. That's not foreshadowing or anything.
That's not something for me to use against the party.
Who's the evil god?
Orcus.
Yeah, Orcus. O-R-C-U-S.
Oh.
There's can't remember specifically off the top of my head, but there's an artifact called the Horn of Orcus. That's a very corrupting artifact.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yep. Along with items like the Hand of Vecna, the Eye of Vecna, and
the Yurt of
Proclaimers.
Vecna.
The Nose of Orcus.
So, Laven, there's someone up there watching us. I don't know if we should keep going and act like we don't see anything, or if we should attempt to like make a break through the buildings and try to avoid this trap.
I could just spray some arrows over there.
What's the range on your bow?
150 is the...
Is it short range?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have a longbow, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's like 150.
It's 150,
600.
600.
600, yeah.
600, yeah.
Jeez.
Well, and I can do my Conjure Barrage thing. And just make sure I take it out.
We said we're not going to fight everything as soon as we realize that they're around.
I'm just making the suggestion.
Hey, let's have some more morality in this game. Oh,
I mean,
this might be a fight.
well, I mean, one arrow isn't going to kill this person.
You don't know that. This could be a level 1 bandit.
I'm just making the suggestion.
What do you think would be our best course of action, Hagrid? Kind of skirt around the buildings and try to get out of this potential kill box, or what?
Well, they're obviously waiting for us to walk into this trap, so I think we should try to avoid it.
Smoke bomb.
As Tony says, smoke bomb. It's a natural 20. Right here, you actually see a canister just beeline, and embed itself in the dirt right in front of you, spraying out smoke. It's like a smoke grenade, like a painted smoke grenade. On this, as it comes through, you see coiled up around this a whole bunch of metal copper wire.
Fuck it, guys. Let's just walk the other way.
And you hear inside your heads, each of you, a voice just goes, "I wouldn't run just yet."
I didn't say run. I said walk. God, have you seen my legs?
I can see that clearly.
Then you know I can't run worth shit.
Are you the ones that torched that outpost?
Depends on who's asking.
You can call me Overwatch in this position. That's all you need to know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was us.
Well, are you quick to trust a strange voice in your head?
Well,
I've learned they tend to get me in trouble.
We've been waiting for somebody to contact us.
How do you know it's not the fuzz?
Because they have guns.
Or that canister in the middle of the road. What if it's self-aware?
Yes, I'm a magical smoke monster that's here over the course of 6 seasons to kill 90% of you.
I bamf BA out of my hand.
And then the remaining 5 of you get away on an airplane, but one comes back in to be the master of this island. Man, Lost was a really messy plot. God, I went so deep in that reference I forgot what I was going to say.
Do I recognize the voice at all from my time in the gaze at all?
Nope.
No.
That's probably a good sign, right?
Probably.
Or a really bad one saying that it is the fuzz.
So
There's no fuzz down here. It's just the dagger guard. They don't deal with theatrics. They deal with stabbing people.
Stabby, stabby, stab.
so what do you want?
I need to know something. Why'd you torch that building out of all of them?
Scarface here, I'll tell you.
Alright, Pacino.
Look like some folks from the Zentarum were looking to make a move in, and we didn't take too kindly to that.
Do you think that's your turf?
wouldn't say it's our turf, but it's definitely not theirs.
Roll deception?
Yeah.
No, it's performance.
Damn it. 6.
Looks like you're trying to be a big dog right now.
He wants you to bark at him.
There's a disembodied voice around here. I gotta show face.
I'm sorry, what?
Like I have to try to save face. There's a fucking disembodied voice talking to me. I can't be like cowering in fear and pissing. How's that look?
Fair enough. So it sounds like you want to see who I am. I'm more concerned about what you can do. How useful you all will be to me. There's a nomadic tribe that has something I want. They're not good guys, don't worry about that. They raid the outlying towns. But if you can relieve them of this alloy, I'd be willing to show you my face. Not yet.
What do you want us to do, Smoke Monster?
There's this tribal band that has taken something I want. You're gonna take it from them. And then we'll meet.
Where's the drop?
Can
A little farther north of Settlers Bend, there's this small, once again, tribe. It's about 7 or 8 ruthless bandits. They have
question?
they have this alloy named the Dwarf Star Ally, and I need it.
Where is the drop location?
You can drop it off of this cart here.
Which one? There's a few.
Which
Probably
one do
the
you
overturned
think?
one.
The one with the fruit stand with all the gays by it.
Perceptive. Yeah, that's
Ha! It's Smokey the Bear of the gays.
I don't know how to respond to that. And this here is Bear Jaygeons the Dragclarks. Bear, say hi.
As he licks Jay's butt.
So, what do you think, guys?
I'm good for something. I don't even know anymore. We're talking to Smokey the Bear. Come on.
I mean, depending, and I want to be saying this so that Smoke Monster can't hear.
Okay.
Well, we know we're going to do that.
It's a voice in our head. How do we know if it's listening or not?
That's true. Yeah, I mean, we could just walk in and we can talk about how on our way there. Do I know, like, knowing the area, like a general idea of where they're probably at?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a time limit on this? Because I like to make sure we do it right.
We'll worry about quality over speed. Just prove to me you are who I think you are.
All right. We'll be back.
At this point, the smoke runs out.
What kind of spell was that?
I'm gonna check out the can that did that.
Okay. Roll perception.
Perception 18.
So it's this canister, and there appears to be a pressure nozzle at the back end of it that would eject the smoke.
Does there seem to be anything else special about it, or it's just kind of a...
It's about
That's all it does.
40 millimeters in diameter.
You said there was a wire wrapped around it?
Yep,
A copper wire?
copper wire.
Do I recognize that as a spell component of any kind?
You recognize it as a component for some spells. Mostly for...
Is there a way?
spells.
Is there a way like between, say like Tony and myself with his arcane wizardry and not my investigation skills to try to figure out perhaps what spell was being cast? Is there a way to is there any arcane fingerprint left on this wire or anything like that?
I mean, it's a pretty simple spell. It's just amplified. You've seen spells of this nature called message.
Okay.
But based off of the duration of the conversation, based off of that it was a continuous open link.
Like message on crack.
Yeah, this was message on HGH.
Yeah.
It was an amplified version.
That's fine. Like I kind of figured that's what it was as far as like metagaming, but I wanted to.
Coo.
Right. I just want to know sort of
Yeah.
the capabilities of who we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
I want to keep this can because I might want to try to reverse engineer it later.
All right. Put in empty smoke canister to your inventory.
I like how Laven and Tony are slowly becoming this dynamic duo of technology.
We shall rule the world.
So he can make stuff. Why can't I make stuff?
I mean, at least together you can definitely make stuff.
Look, I would
Yeah.
watch this sitcom.
It would be called Bumbling Bloodlust.
Ooh, that's actually a good name.
All right.
First off, that's the name of my punk band.
So as we're heading out of Loterra then and towards Settler's Bend to find these bandits, I think there's a chance if we lead off with the right foot here, guys, that we can we might be able to convince these guys to give us the alloy and move on. Because, and this is what I'm going to say to them, but if the gaze has sent us after them, they've clearly pissed off the wrong people. And if we don't finish the job, somebody's going to. Their people will just keep coming. So if they give us the alloy now, maybe they can leave with their lives. But if they do something stupid, then we can kill them.
We could also just take it from them without them knowing.
We can definitely try that.
Possibly. Yeah.
It's plan 1A and 1B.
1A.
Lying and
Yeah.
stealing.
So
But-
my second punk album.
In order to not kill these people.
Right, exactly. Save their lives.
Oh man, why can I not put tokens on the board?
How does that plan rub you, Hagrid? I'm not trying to necessarily reinvent the wheel here with what we're doing, but I do want to make sure that we're being as inclusive as possible.
I'm starting to feel like all of a sudden I'm the moral compass here. That was not my intention to have every action of the group check me.
Well, no, I don't think so.
If
But
I have a problem planning, I'll say something. But I mean, I believe Tony said that we do have stuff to do, and sometimes in the name of getting that stuff to do and for the greater good, we have to get that gray area going again.
Hey guys, I hate to do this to us, but I'm unable to put tokens on the board right now.
Bum, bum, bum.
So what was leading into a potential battle situation is not possible. So I might have to cut it super early this week, but knowing where we're going to start off exactly next week. So I mean, it's give enough time, given your know-how of the area. This is not something that's unfamiliar territory. You have a 95% certainty of where you need to go. Just
Could
to resolve that.
you reload roll 20?
What's that?
Is reloading roll 20 an option to see if that'll fix it?
Tried it, failed. So it's
Damn.
Just, well, we learned something here.
Well,
Yes, we
I
learned that
think
my
for,
internet does not sustain two people playing D&D at the same time.
Well, I think to Hagrid's remark before we get off is
Yeah.
we're not trying to make you the moral compass. We're just trying to show that we actually give a flying fuck about your opinion. And I think we're still fine in operating in the gray area. But while operating in the gray area, we want to make sure that everybody is comfortable with what we're doing. And we're not going to intentionally alienate anybody due to our actions. And you honestly have probably the best morals out of any of us here.
I mean, this is something that I have really forced upon you guys, in the fact that this is trying to see your ethical fortitude.
Yeah.
So I mean, these questions I think make sense. Is to sit there and to have unanimous decision of we agree that this meets the minimum standards of worth it.
And I think too, for my sake, Hagrid, you didn't force me to question my decision making or my gut. You didn't. You're not sort of forcing our hand into having you be the moral compass of the group. That's not my intention when I ask you these things. It's before even you said anything to me, my confidence in my decision was already well shook, and you calling me out on it only highlights that fact more. And it's not that I feel like I need to run every decision through you. It's just right now my mind may not be as sound as I think it is, and so if I have a plan and I want to bounce it off of as many of you as possible. We're also getting into an area of my expertise that we didn't use at all in Barovia, and it may be something that you haven't seen much of either. Whereas during my time on the run, I was very good at lying my way out of fights. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone is on board with that before I invest time and energy into planning that.
Well, my only real concern is whether or not you're deceiving me. And even though I feel that I can trust you enough, so I'm not going to let that always cloud my view of your actions. But I am going to try to be more vocal if I feel that there needs to be opposition to the plan. Otherwise, my silence can be consent.
All right.
Actually, I have a question for Lucien now.
Yeah.
Haha. Well, seeing as we're in your realm of the world, I don't think we have yet to find out why you were on the run, why you got away from the gate, and why you have been avoiding this place for as long as you have. If I've shared my demons with you all, and since we're in your world now, I think it's fair that we know what we're getting into and what you were running from on your end.
Well, I did tell this story. I shared this story with Laven and Hagrid and Crispin, but you were at the time you were busy trying to learn the spell to get us out of Barovia. But so about I don't know, about 100 years ago or so, I was a full-fledged member of the Gaze, and I was I worked a lot with a particular other member of the Gaze. Her and I were paired up a lot on jobs, and one day we got our orders to go to basically the executor's residence up at the top in High Terra, and retrieve an artifact. I'm not sure why the Gaze wanted it. We don't typically dabble in magical artifacts. I think it was more about blackmail at the time, keeping our hands in the pockets of the council and the executor, so that they could keep doing whatever they needed to do unopposed. But when we got there, things were off. The aliases that we had been given or that we had worked out weren't working. Guards weren't where they were supposed to be when they were supposed to be, and we got made. Me anymore. I don't know what happened to her, and I never even went back home to grab anything. I just left. I left Traytera. I assumed, that second identity of Detective Miller that you may remember me having used. And between Lucien and Miller, spent 100 years wandering. It's Kytera, right? Is the name of the realm? Wandering Kytera. Never staying long enough to really make an impact, and at the same time always being there long enough to sort of restock, do whatever I needed to do to keep covering my tracks.
Fair enough. They set you up, and we're hoping to get you into a position of negative stance, and you got away from it. Good deal.
And unless somebody else has something to say, we'll end this week's abridged session. Unfortunately, combatless, because I had a fun one drawn up. But I promise we'll get to that next week. For role-playing experience, Hagrid, for what you did to start off the session, I want to offer 1,000 experience for that. Tony, for what you offered, we'll go 1,250.
Okay.
Everybody, for the smash and grab job, we'll go 750. And then as I go back through the stream, I may offer additional experience. So that's not exhaustive.
I don't even know what our starting experience is.
So whatever percentage you had before we started Curse of Strahd, that's the percentage you maintained. So it's not, it's the equivalent percentage value of the level.
I'm going to have to figure out where we were.
Yeah, that's going to be kind of a pain to figure out.
Well, that was...
Because the last I had was 16,700.
Okay, so you had 16,700 of... So what level were we when we went into Barovia?
You guys were level 5 as you got into Barovia.
So...
Yeah, my numbers are all fucked up.
Which is exactly why I went 6 and had to revamp some of the things, because you're 2 levels higher of what you should have been.
We were 5.
So if we were 5, that's 6,500. Yeah, my numbers are all fucked up.
One day I'll figure it out.
But just so
probably was 6,500 then.
Yeah, so
since that's level 5 I was 200 over that.